Welcome back to Press Review. Let's start by taking a look at today's front pages in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia's Arab News leads reporting that a gang of 4 Yemenis has been arrested for stealing an estimated 4.5 million riyals worth of jewelry from a gold store in Mecca on Friday. The paper also reports that Crown Prince Salman, Deputy Premier and Minister of Defense, held talks with King Juan Carlos of Spain and major regional and international issues and ways of strengthening bilateral relations. The Jerusalem Post leads its front page reporting that Maccabi Tel Aviv claimed its 6th European Championship title in club history in characteristically nail-biting fashion last night, beating Real Madrid 98-86 in overtime in Milan. The paper also reports that settlers lobbied ministers to oppose a quiet freeze on the publication of tenders and advancement of plans for homes in the West Bank settlements and Jewish neighborhoods of East Jerusalem. The UAE's Khalij Times reports that India's BJP moved its government formation exercise into top gear with its prime ministerial nominee Narendra Modi holding discussions with several top leaders of the party, including former Deputy Prime Minister Lal Krishna Advani. The paper also reports that heavily armed gunmen stormed into Libya's parliament yesterday after attacking the building with anti-aircraft weapons and rocket-propelled grenades. Egypt Independent reports that presidential hopeful Abdel Fattah Sisi said the armed forces run its economic activities in a way that achieves its needs, denying that military would represent a parallel economy competing with private sector. The paper also reports that Turkish police have detained 18 people, including mining company executives and personnel, as part of an investigation into last week's mine disaster. And now let's take a look at the top Middle East news in UK papers. The Telegraph leads Middle East news reporting that the Deutsche Bank has turned the Qatari royal family as part of plans to raise 8 billion euros as the lender tries to draw a line under fears over its capital strength. The paper says the capital increase comes as banks across Europe have been shedding risky investments and raising new financial buffers as they seek to meet new regulatory standards aimed at strengthening the banking system. The Guardian leads Middle East news reporting that the Libyan capital remained tense on Monday, a day after forces loyal to a renegade general stormed the parliament and said they had suspended the House. The paper says Libya's leadership condemned the brazen attack, in which 2 people reportedly died and more than 50 were wounded, and vowed to carry on. The Independent reports that thousands of civilians are fleeing Fallujah as the rebel-held city just west of Baghdad comes under heavy bombardment amid fears that the Iraqi army might launch an all-out assault. Some 42,000 Iraqi security forces are reported to be taking part in operations in the Fallujah area, where there has been heavy fighting over the last 4 months. And now let's take a look at the top Middle East news in international papers. China's Global Times leads reporting that the randomly erected Syrian refugee camps in the eastern parts of Lebanon have turned into hotbeds for environmental pollution, raising fears at the surrounding residential areas of various threats that could arise if no immediate solution is to be found. And finally, the Los Angeles Times reports that an explosion at an election rally for presidential frontrunner Abdel Fattah Sisi injured 4 people, including 2 policemen. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, but the country has been hit by a wave of attacks, most aimed at security forces in the 10 months since the military-backed interim government took power. And for more updates, please visit Levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again tomorrow, and bye for now.